Okay, so let's do pan roasted cauliflower or pan broiled. You can call it either one you want. So we're going to start with the cauliflower. This is a nice big one. If you can get a larger one, that's fine. The most important thing that you want to look for when you're doing this dish is a nice tight compact head. That means they're fresh. As they get old, well, it's fresh and then the type of variety of cauliflower also. As they get older, these the flowerette parts you can see right in here will start to shrink as they lose moisture, and they'll come apart. You know, they'll separate. So when you cut these into steaks, they don't really hold together well. The size of the cauliflower I would get either, you know, nice compact small ones or the biggest ones you can get, not anything in between. I can tell you, Louisiana grows some of the best cauliflower I've ever seen. It's a fall crop, so we're in June right now here, so I was really surprised to be able to find such a pretty cauliflower flower. It is a flower on the plant, actually. So this one's really nice for this time of the year. It's larger. It's not really dried up. It's kind of fresh. The leaves are nice and green. It's what you want to look for. Leaves like this, to be honest with you, when you take them off, don't discard them. You can use these. If you make greens, you can use them. They can be sauteed. You can simmer them down in a little bit of chicken stock, and they're good. I make like an Italian style broth-based vegetable soup with winter vegetables, and I'll throw the cauliflower leaves in there, throw the broccoli leaves. I was telling you about Louisiana cauliflower. They're giant. In the fall, they'll be the size of basketballs, like that big around. You'll get broccoli with these size heads from Louisiana. They grow them down in St. Bernard Parish, a little bit down in Plaquemine, really fertile soils in that area. It's all alluvial soil that's spilled over from the river. Now what you want to do is be careful with the stem. What most people will do now is start cutting off the flowerets, or they'll dig in there and try to get the stem out. What we want to do though is just kind of cut this stem off even with the cauliflower. So notice how I'm holding my knife. You know, when you're using your knife, particularly a knife like this, you still need to think about where these fingers are, where these fingers are, and where that part of that knife blade is at all times. That's the most important thing. Don't have music playing in the background. Don't have videos playing, or television movies, or Netflix, or even these instructional videos. Watch them, take notes, have a copy of your recipe sitting down there, but don't do anything that's going to distract. So we're going to put this in our usable scraps bin right over here. This is hard. Can't really use it for anything. It's going to go in our compostable bin over there. Now let me show you how to prep this. Get the rest of these little leaves out. Be careful. You don't want to cut into the flowerets. Don't worry about that hard stem. We'll take care of that. Turn your cauliflower over. Okay. Clean up your board. Nice to be tidy. With your chef knife. I had run my paring knife on the steel right before we started this video, so I apologize if I'm not showing you, but trust me, we did it. So what you want to do, you're going to need to get thick slices on this cauliflower. So this part is not going to be held together by any stem right over here. So let's take that off. Oops, come back this way, I'm sorry. On the wrong one. Make a nice slicing motion. Downward push, and then go down with your knife blade. This we're going to use cauliflower soup, steamed cauliflower as a veg, any number of different things, marinated cauliflower. So you see how right here we got a little bit of the stem coming? We want to use that to hold this whole thing together. So, ½ inch, that's ½ inch, 3/4, 1 inch. You kind of decide what you like. I'm gonna get between 3/4 and 1 inch, same as we did before. This side is right here. Our knife is parallel. My board is at the end of the table down here. My knife is making a 90-degree angle with the board. Okay, so I'm gonna get a nice even size slice, or a steak, or a plank, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, I'm gonna push forward with the knife. You don't want to do little sawing motions. I'm gonna push forward with the knife and down, tilt it up a little bit, and down. Now, be careful with this. It's fragile. Okay, a cauliflower steak. That's beautiful, isn't it? We're gonna take and put this on our pan. Put that pan over here. Let's get these out of the way. We'll use that. Let's get one more, about 1 inch thick. Keep your ruler on your board or right by you. If you don't know what 1 inch is, or if you're not good at just eyeballing measurements, okay, then refer to that ruler. Okay. Gentle, another nice steak. Okay. These make great appetizers. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. They make great appetizers, great entrees, a vegetarian or vegan offering. You know, you really have to put some thought into that. It's not about what you like or what you enjoy. It's about what you can sell in your business and in your restaurant. Veganism, vegetarian foods, if you do a good job with it, you'll get a whole new following coming into your restaurant that you may not have been used to getting before. So this dish, it's got a little bit of cheese on the end of it. That wasn't included in your kit. It's optional if you have some cheese, some Parmesan cheese, or Asiago or Romano. I wouldn't use anything other than those. We'll put a little bit on at the end. So let's get the seasoning. So let's take a little bit of our olive oil, dip our brush in there, brush it on top. If you don't have a pastry brush, you can go to Home Depot, get a really cheap paintbrush, one of the little wooden ones that's wide. They're only about $1. Or you can just use a paper towel, kind of wipe a little bit on there. You want to put olive oil on there right now, not so much to not make it stick, but you don't want it to. Oh, I got 2. Thanks for letting me know that. Put a little more olive oil on there. Look how big these are. We'll be able to get 4 portions out of this. Okay, so let's put our olive oil down. There's 2 things that I didn't. One thing that's not in your package, and one thing I didn't mention to you. If you don't have them, it's not going to be the end of the world. Fortunately, one of them is vinegar. I'm using white wine vinegar. You can use red wine vinegar. I would avoid, definitely don't use balsamic. The flavor is going to be good, but it's going to make your cauliflower really dark color. And don't use apple cider. The flavor for that one's not good. You can use just a little bit of plain white vinegar. So anyway, here we go. We got these on here. Let's go ahead and season. A little kosher salt. Now, why kosher salt, you might ask? If you're going to notice, every recipe you ever see me use, well, let me say most of the recipes, if not all of them, are going to use kosher salt. Whatever you use, whatever you develop your recipes with, that's what you stay with. I don't use iodized salt at all. We live in South Louisiana. We eat a lot of seafood, so we get all of the iodine that we need. Kosher salt, if you weighed a cup of kosher salt and you weighed a cup of plain salt, the cup of plain salt will weigh a little bit more because it's finer pieces. It's actually ground up to make finer pieces, so it flows when you put it out of a shaker. The kosher salt's larger pieces, so a little bit less goes into volume than the other would be. I like that because it's a little more forgiving. Black pepper. Now I got to tell you, this is one of my favorite seasonings. I use black pepper on everything except my cornflakes. GoPro, stop recording. Okay, so let's take a little bit of that vinegar we talked about. Let's brush a little bit on there. Vinegar you can use in so many other things other than pickles and salad dressings. It kind of it brightens up a lot of flavors on things. And it takes some flavors that what you would consider to be like flat almost, and adds a little more dimension to them. Italian seasoning. I'm just going to go with an Italian or a Mediterranean style on these. I've already had them done with southwestern spices. Had them done with a little chipotle and adobo, a little toasted cumin in the past, granulated garlic. If you're going to buy dried or powdered style garlic, buy granulated garlic rather than garlic powder or garlic salt. When you're buying garlic salt, you're buying salt at a really high price. Sprinkle a little more garlic on here. Okay. One of my favorite things, crushed red pepper. Put crushed red pepper on so much stuff. Crushed red pepper will just kind of make things dance a little bit on your tongue. The idea is not to make it spicy. This isn't supposed to be a burn your mouth dish. It's just a little bit. Next thing we want to do is pat it down so that those spices are kind of thick on there. Right. Cool. We're going to head over to the oven, to the stove. I'm sorry. We're going to head over to the stove. I'll meet you there in just a second. Okay, we're back over here by the range top now. So I've got all of my mise en place set up. I'm going to turn the fire on to let my skillet start heating. I've got my mise en place, like I said. Here's my skillet that's heating up. There's the cauliflower steaks we just prepped. It's my herbs and spices. Got them in the skillet here just because it looks kind of cool, and also because it's got some sides on it. I'm very clumsy. If you look up klutz in the dictionary, you'll see my picture. And I've got the plate that I'm going to use to plate up with. So everything is here that I need. Let's set us back up. Wrong way. There we go. I've got the ranges that we have in the kitchen are probably going to be 4 or 5 times hotter than what you have at home. So is the broiler. So I'm going to turn my fire down. You want yours fairly high. Follow your recipe. I think it says put your olive oil in. What the quantity is. Always heat your pan first, then add your oil. The good thing about olive oil, if this was canola oil or something like that, I wouldn't use as much. The good thing about olive oil is that, as you know from nutrition, it's a monounsaturated fat, so it's good for you. You want to consume as much of it as you can. It also just tastes really good, and we're going to use it for flavoring. So I'm going to take one of my steaks that we seasoned earlier, the seasoned side. Let's let the oil get hot. I can see a little smoke coming from it. I don't know if you can or not. Seasoned side, down. Other steak, seasoned side, down. And guess what? While that's flapping over, we're going to do the same seasoning procedure on this side. Now, there is one ingredient that I'll tell you about. Well, there was 2. One was the vinegar. Another one that wasn't in your kit. I'll take full blame for that. It was in my brain, but it didn't go down on the paper to give to Chef Lou and Chef Heyman. It's going to be some grated Parmesan cheese. It's not absolutely necessary. If you have some, go ahead and use it. That's going to come towards the very end. Salt, pepper, salt. You can always add salt. Don't take it away. Black pepper. You notice the pan that I had the cauliflower in, that's the same pan we're going to use it again. Granulated garlic. I don't know about you, but I love garlic. Some more Italian seasoning. A little crushed red pepper. Stir back in. Put that vinegar on there, but you know, I'm just going to drizzle a little bit. While that side is browning, we're going to take our grater. We're going to grate a little Parmesan cheese on top. Oh yeah. Just let that go. Okay, we're starting to get a little brown on the bottom. Our video cut away for a second, so you have about another 45 seconds. You want to get it not super dark, not burnt, but we want to get a nice crust on there. I think we're almost there. We're getting close. I got the spatula in my hand. We're not going to flip it. We're going to take and lift it up, put it back on this sheet pan that's lined with foil so we can clean it, and then we're going to put it in the broiler. Let that broil and rock and roll. Y'all like to cook? I love to cook. It's therapy to me. It relaxes me. When I'm finished, I am tired. It's just like anything. If you exercise, when you finish, you're tired, you get a good workout. And this the same way. When you finish, you should be tired. Doing this in a restaurant, man, this is all profit. This is good money. This slice of cauliflower, food cost on that, just the cauliflower itself is probably, I'm gonna overestimate it and say 35 cents. You probably have another 50 cents, 75 cents worth of ingredients. And you can probably, so you got what, $1.10 there, $1.20, something like that. Selling a piece this size on a plate, just one slice of it, cooked like we're saying now, that's $7.50, $8. Easy for an entree. Easy for an entree. It's not, I mean, for an appetizer, if not more. It also is going to make a good entree for a vegetarian. Now, we're going to slide it in the broiler. I'm going to cut away for a second, move the camera so you can see that. He's back. You're going to take the skillet, go right into the broiler. Broiling is cooking with radiant heat. It could be from above or from below. Broiling, like the actual broiling itself, is from above. If you're going to be grilling, it's radiant heat from below. They both use radiant heat, and they're both best cousins to each other. I put it in here in the skillet that I had it in. If you don't have a heavy skillet that is safe to put into your broiler and your oven, use that sheet pan that we lined with foil. Okay. I want to give you a couple other tips about broiling at home. So broiling at home is safe if it's done properly. It can be kind of dangerous if it's not done properly. Your broiler, you should have a broiler setting on your oven. You turn it on. The broiler might be underneath your oven. You might have the broiler element on the top. It could be either gas or electric. If it's electric, it's up on the top. If it's gas, it could be either way. It could be up on the top or on the bottom. A long time ago, people always said you had to leave the door open just a little bit, maybe an inch or 2 inches. Some people opened it up all the way when you were broiling, and the reason they did that was because back then the ovens didn't turn off. Nowadays, if you read the owner's manual for your oven, imagine that, somebody reading the owner's manual for something, they'll tell you to close the door. So you want to get it close to the heat. You can see my hand right there, so you can see how close the tips of my finger, that's where the flame is, okay? It's right up here. So that cauliflower is maybe 2.5, 3 inches at most away from the flame. It's a very high heat cooking method. You can kind of watch what happens. It's been under there for what, 1.5 minutes now. No color yet, but that's good because the cauliflower is cooking in the middle. It's cooking all the way through. If you're doing it in the skillet that you cooked it in at first, it's going to be hot when you go to move it, and particularly when you take it out of the oven. So you want to use a towel. You always, to lift up a hot pan or a hot skillet or anything hot out of the oven, you always use a dry side towel. Cotton, not polyester, not any synthetic fibers, they're going to melt. A dry cotton towel. If it's got any bit of moisture on it, if it's damp, if it's just somewhat moist, it's going to burn you. You're going to drop the skillet, you're going to drop the food. It could go on your legs, it can go on your feet. Worse than that, if you got little ones around, it can go on them, and then you got big problems. So we're going to cut away for a second here while this is still broiling, and we'll go back when it's close to done. Okay, here we are back again. I think our cauliflower is just about done. I did want to mention one thing. If you don't have a broiler on your oven, we were just talking about that a minute or two ago. We've probably been, took a little breakaway for about 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. If you don't have a broiler, look at that. I'm gonna set it down. Move that camera down best I can. I was saying, if you don't have a broiler that you can use, don't worry about it. You can still do the dish. You can do it on both sides in the skillet. Just turn them over and flip them, and that'll work just fine. I'm gonna put a cauliflower steak here. Cauliflower steak there. Let's come back over to our station. I'll meet you there in a second. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that nice? That's a beautiful plate. So the only thing we'll finish with is take a little more olive oil, put it on there. That'll make it nice and shiny. Shiny is good. Unless you don't want it shiny, then it's not good. I'm going to use just a little bit of chopped fresh parsley. The dried parsley that comes in the containers in the grocery store. Leave that in the grocery store. If you ever try it, or if you have some, taste it. And it doesn't have any flavor, but I use flat parsley for everything. It's got a little bit more flavor to it than curly parsley does. If I need to use dry parsley, I just won't use anything in it at all. So yeah, that's a beautiful dish. You would want to take a sample piece, not from the plate that you're going to serve, but a sample piece, and taste it. See if it needs salt or pepper. Okay. The cauliflower I have is a big piece. It's going to serve, this will serve 4 people, an easy 4 people, an appetizer, you know, or a side dish. You can serve it on the side, have a little sauce on the side if you like, a little homemade red sauce. Okay. If you want a recipe for that, just shoot me an email. I have one I can send to you. Also, it goes great with the sauce called chimichurri, Go ahead and look that up on the internet, or if you want my recipe, shoot me an email. I'll send you my recipe for it. It's a Latin American sauce that's made from parsley, a little bit of oregano, but almost half and half, fresh flat parsley, cilantro leaves, garlic, olive oil, red wine vinegar, salt and pepper. And then you just put it all in a blender, blend it, boom, and you got sauce. It's great on a steak. I'm looking at this more like a steak. I tell you what, I think I like it better together than I did separated out. Okay, that's pan-broiled cauliflower. I hope yours comes out as good as what I think mine did. I'm going to eat lunch, and guess what I'm having?